Valentine's Day just wouldn't be Valentine's Day without some chocolate. And so I take you to Steinerger's here in Salem, New York, right across the border of Vermont, a wonderful family business that has been making homemade chocolates for many years. And I have to tell you, I'm having a hard time deciding what to get my husband for Valentine's Day. As I look at the heart-shaped box, I'm reminded that the heart-shaped box didn't come into being until 1868, when Richard and George took over the Cadbury business, and they decided to create fancy boxes in which to package their chocolates in. So you could thank the Cadbury brothers for the heart-shaped boxes. You can also thank St. Valentine for all the birds and flowers that often adorn many a Valentine's Day greeting card. It is said that Valentine was in Rome, imprisoned around the 3rd century, for performing illegal marriages with the Roman soldiers because the emperor wanted them single because he thought them being married would take them away from their focus when they are in battle. So Valentine was imprisoned, waiting for his execution, and it is said that he could reach his hand out to the flowers outside of his cell, and he would pluck the petals and write messages to his grieving followers. These messages would be delivered by white doves. And so flowers and birds do often decorate a Valentine's Day greeting card. So if you happen to get a card with flowers and birds, think about St. Valentine reaching his hand out of his cell, writing love messages on petals, and these messages being flown by white doves. Well, I continued a tradition here at Old Stonewell Farm. This Valentine's Day, I surprised my husband with a heart-shaped box of chocolate placed at his breakfast plate. It was a tradition that I grew up with as a child, and I always loved it. And for some reason this year, I thought a lot about that childhood memory. Because you see, the box of chocolate that was left by my mother at my breakfast bowl when I was a child, it wasn't huge, it wasn't expensive, it wasn't a grand gesture. It was just one of those little cardboard boxes that you could get at the 5 and dime filled with cheap chocolate. But each one of us kids, my brother and my sister, we all had a little heart-shaped box of chocolate placed at our breakfast plate. And again, it was just a beautiful gesture that set the day off in a great way. It just sent me off to school knowing that I am loved. And it wasn't grand, it was just thoughtful, and it meant the world to me. I think about that a lot this year, how it's the little things that really, really matter and make a difference. Paul, the Apostle Paul, writes in 1 Corinthians, the famous love chapter, that if we don't have love, if we don't do anything in love, then we are nothing. And I just love that reminder because he opens up. I mean, he's writing to a church that is broken. He's writing to a congregation that's divided, that is fighting with one another. And so he writes all about what love is. Love doesn't boast, love is patient, love is kind. But before he gets into all of that, he just sets the record straight. And he says here, and I'll read it for you. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, then I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and angels, but do not have love, I am nothing. And that is what Paul is saying. It's like, yes, we could speak all we want to speak, and we have so many ways of communicating this day. We have podcasts, we have videos, we have the written word, and we have radio, we have the newscast. We have so many ways of communicating, and I think the communication channels are just overwhelmed and overloaded with noisy gongs and clanging cymbals. I think there's a lot of words out there, a lot of material out there that is just empty noise. Where's the love? I was in a meeting the other day with a bunch of communicators, And there was a consultant firm that was hired to kind of iron out our message, who our audience is and what our messages that we write should be all about. Well, the consulting firm identified two categories and said, well, you are wise, filled with knowledge and academia, and you also have a social justice bent, advocacy. So you're wise, but yet you are advocates. And so a lot of discussion was going around how we need to embrace our social justice in us, the advocacy, and get that message out there, that action is needed. Well, this conversation went on, and I'm in the Zoom meeting, and it was good. I mean, we are, yes, it's great to be wise and, be the wise folk out there getting our messages across. And social justice, yes, there's a lot of things that we need to turn around and change in terms of policies and just equity for all. But as we were having this discussion, I just couldn't hold back anymore. I just had to bring it up, and I interrupted and I said, what I'm basically saying to all of you now, yes, it's great to have wisdom. It's great to work for social justice. But I asked, what about heart? Where's the heart in all of this? Is this all grounded in love? And that's when I thought about Paul's words to the church in Corinth. Yes, I could speak in the tongues of mortals. But if I do not have love, if my words, if my actions are not grounded in love, then I'm just adding to the noise in this world. It's interesting that the King James Version of the Bible in 1611, that word love that Paul uses in this chapter in 1 Corinthians, that word love was really, in that version of the Bible, 1611, that word love was charity. So it would say, if I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have charity, then I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. So 1611 in the King James Version, love was replaced with charity. And when we hear charity, well, if I don't have charity, we think about, helping out a soup kitchen or writing a check. We think of charitable donations. But that's not what that word meant back in the 17th century, when that word charity was used rather than love in 1 Corinthians 13. What people would hear, how that word charity was defined, was basically charity meant the noblest of love. So if I don't have charity, then I am just noise in the world. If I don't have the noblest of love, then I am not adding to this world at all. I'm not showing the love of God. So it's really interesting that I keep thinking about the words we speak, the words that get out there, the words that are communicated through social media, through newspaper articles, newscasts, podcasts. If they're not grounded in love, then what are we doing? We're just adding to the noise in the world. And what is this love? It's not some sentimentality and, all the butterflies in your stomach and my heart is just racing, and it's none of that. You see, the word love that Paul uses, that's in our Bibles, it is the Greek word agape, which means a love that is beyond description. It's a love that comes from God. It's a love that's all forgiving and just so deep and so profound that we can't put it into words. And there's other words for love that is used throughout the Bible. There's eros, which is the passionate love. There's philia, which we get Philadelphia from, which means brotherly love. And so Philadelphia comes from that, meaning city of brotherly love. But Paul uses the word agape, which is a profound, deep love that we cannot really describe. And it is just a love that is not demanding. It doesn't expect anything in return. It is a love that is just redeeming. And that's the love he uses in 1 Corinthians. And as I said, in 16:11, that word love wasn't there. It was charity instead, which meant the noblest of all love. And so when the conversation was going around and around about being wise and being active in social justice, I had to ask, where's the heart? Where's the love? Because if our work is not grounded in love, then I don't want any part of it. Because I don't want to add to the noise of the world. So on this Valentine's Day, I ask you, what are you contributing to this world? This day, as you go about your day and the next day, the day after that, ask yourself, am I just adding to the noise in the world? Or am I making a difference? Because if we speak, if we act, and if those words and those actions are not grounded in a love that is noblest of all love, that is charitable, that is agape love, then we are just noisy gongs and clanging cymbals. Before the 13th chapter in 1 Corinthians, I love the sentence that precedes the very opening. In Corinthians 12:31, Paul says, "Strive for the greater gifts, and I will show you a still more excellent way." But strive for the greater gifts, and I will show you a still more excellent way. It's interesting that line in 1 Corinthians 12:31 is the very last line before you get into the love chapter. So hear it this way. But strive for the greater gifts, and I will show you a still more excellent way. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, then I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Strive for the greater gifts. What are those greater gifts? Well, the very next chapter shows us that the greater gifts are love. Love that is kind, that is patient, that is not envious, that is not arrogant, that is not rude. Love that doesn't insist on its own way. Love that is the love that God shows us, redeeming and forgiving and full of grace. And so, my friends, on this Valentine's Day, yes, enjoy the chocolate, enjoy the little hearts, enjoy it all. But most of all, this Valentine's Day, go out and be the voice of love in the world. Thanks for coming to the farm. And is it too early to start to open up all these boxes of chocolates? Perhaps I should wait till my husband gets back. And I have to share with you, I'm dealing with a broody hen. Yes, she is broody, and I'm a little bit worried about her, but I'm sure she'll be fine. So I will hold off on the chocolate. I'll wait till my husband gets home, and I will go and check on my little hen who is all broody on Valentine's Day. Don't be broody on Valentine's Day. I'll have to share with her the scripture that God is love. All right, until next time, take care and God bless. I really want to get into this. I'll be here.
of my heart be pleasing to you, pleasing to you. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you.